So then we came to Symphony No. 4, which we felt would be the last, because
too much of a good thing.
Well, it is a big thing to write a symphony.
It is.
Come with 4 movements each time.
Yeah.
And so we decided on Symphony of Life.
Symphony of Life.
We toyed with the 4 seasons.
We did, and I was thinking all the time, 4 seasons just kind of fits nicely. 4 movements, 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Movement each season, beautiful.
Well, I couldn't quite get my head around how that would work.
Well, I think we did the first movement under the auspices of summer, I think.
Yes.
So I thought, what a nice thing to include all things bright and beautiful.
Yes.
And I thought that would fit nicely, and I had an original tune in my mind that would be suitable for that.
Right.
And I think your words, once you knew that's where I was going, your words were kind of taking all things bright and beautiful and the creation and all this kind of thing into account. I think the will to, again, try to push a few more boundaries and to push it, a little bit harder still than number 3 maybe, was very much in my mind. And so I thought, if this is going to be the last one,
this must be the most difficult one to sing.
I think it's
rhythmically at least.
Yes, probably the most difficult to learn.
Yes.
To sing. Yes, I guess we're talking about the same thing here.
Yes.
I mean, number 2 is strenuous and taxing.
Taxing,
but,
yeah.
So
this
learning
is technically quite difficult.
Technically it's difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult, and it'd be interesting to know if there's anybody other than the ISS could
attempt to
do it. That's the trouble when you're writing for ISS.
Yeah.
You're limiting its usage because you're writing, for a very technically advanced group.
Yes.
And we don't have many ISSs in the world. And
No.
But that aside, I thought that we should chuck everything at this one.
Yes.
Make it the last one.
So again, we decided on 4 headings that would progress it and tell a story.
Just remind me what they were.
Creation.
Yeah.
Acclamation. Contemplation.
Right.
And salvation.
Right.
Has to end with salvation. Yeah.
There's a symmetry in those words, isn't there? The shons.
They're the shons, yeah.
Yeah. But so after ditching the idea of the 4 seasons, I know that after I finished the first movement, I just couldn't connect it to winter for some reason. I just didn't. It didn't happen for me.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of left it to you to come up with an alternative and to find a theme through here, which we've done in the other previous 3.
Yes.
And to see where we go.
Well, with creation, it was simply talking about God revealing his might. So the God of life reveals his might and draws from darkness light. Over waters deep creates the earth, and from the void brings new birth. So that's the story of creation. And musically, it gets really tricky where you go into the 6/8.
Well, there's some interesting rhythms.
And it's a little bit of a tongue twister for the singers.
Yes.
Light and shade and land and sea and moon and stars and every creature.
Yeah.
But they got around that very well.
There is a very much more a contrapuntal style that I used here, and that's one tricky bit. The other tricky bit in there is the rhythms that I thought about depicting the stars, and very difficult rhythms, not many notes but lots of rests.
Yes.
And those chords are coming, very much not where you expect them. And
you have the female voices singing light and the quaver later, the men singing light, just on the offbeat.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, in space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Light flashing and so that worked very well.
Took a lot of rehearsal. ISS spent a lot of time
I'm sure.
getting that, and it was almost a sense of hilarity when somebody came in wrong, which in the initial stages of this they did quite often. But Dorothy pursued the rehearsal and getting it right, and I think it's it feels like it's almost second nature now. But
And I like that after all that frenetic stuff, you did Choral, slowed it down, and just come in with a few minims, nice, easy phrase, which led to me to the words, "Who has made all things well,"
yeah,
which is an
yes.
easy ending.
Nice finish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a gift to me.
And then we
went
moved on.
into Acclamation.
This was an interesting one.
Yeah, I like this movement.
Oh, it's great fun.
Yeah.
It's great fun to write.
Yeah.
I got this kind of idea of a fairground going in my mind.
Yes.
And, and a kind of a waltz type thing. And it kind of felt that, it was an area where it could get frenetic and a little bit over jolly,
Yes.
which really was in the context
you were
of the
worried
word.
initially, weren't you, that it was a little bit too fairgroundish?
I did.
And I
yeah.
said, don't worry, because the words, hold it to a good theme. Hosanna, Hosanna, they greet the King. Hosanna, Hosanna, their cloaks they fling. Before the one who comes in peace, who comes in the name of the Lord. So it has that Wurlitzer sort of thing,
It
but
does.
it says the right things.
Yeah, yes, it does.
So-
I think you saved it.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I don't think musically it was anything to worry about.
But spiritually, along the line of going back to the theme of the symphony,
Yes.
that's when life got out of control, isn't it?
Yes.
And we needed to be, at some point, come back to Christ. To
And then there was the
restore kind of
scripture
order.
about even the stones shall rise up.
Yeah,
So that led me to the line for even if no one calls out to the King, the very stones will sing.
yeah,
And then
Yes.
again that fitted into your 3/4 time.
yeah. So it's great to sing and play, and I get a lot of pleasure in listening to that and being part of a performance of that.
And in any 4-movement work, you're allowed one movement where it's a little bit different.
Well,
Aren't you? You
you need
lighter.
it.
Yeah, you need it.
You need contrast. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that worked well. It's quite a long movement actually when you
Well,
turn the pages on
it
it.
looks longer than
But it's
it is.
over in a flash, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So the third movement.
Ah, lovely movement. Contemplation. Which again, when we get into that mode of thinking about contemplation, contemplating God and His love, always takes us to Calvary.
Yeah.
But this time it takes us just to before Calvary.
Yeah.
Alone in the garden, alone see Him there. The Son calls to heaven, kneels down to make His prayer.
Yeah.
Not my will, but your will be done. For if this cup must come my way, the victory is won.
Powerful, beautiful movement. I knew at this point that we were going to have the opportunity to orchestrate this,
Right.
and so before I even wrote the first note of number 4, I knew that there was a chance that we were going to be able to get this recorded
Yes.
with a full orchestrated accompaniment
Right.
and the ISS singing.
So that changed your whole mode of thinking.
It changed some things, yes.
Right.
I elongated some of the kind of soloistic musical moments,
Right.
and I could hear when I was writing certain things. Oh yeah, this is a flute, this is an oboe,
Right.
this is a clarinet,
Okay.
and so out of all the 4 symphonies, this one was influenced by the fact that I knew that we were going to do an orchestral version of this, and so that very much influenced the colour. But again, it's another powerful movement, I think, and with those words, just seems to hit home that when we come back to Christ, He can restore us and bring order back to our lives and world.
And then a very exciting last movement.
Yeah. Well, it had to be big. It was the last movement of the last symphony.
He redeems all peoples, every nation. He alone secures for us salvation. He alone is worthy of our song, is worthy, for to Him by His grace we belong. It's an easy thing to write, really, because we're just leading to salvation every time.
Yeah.
For in his body Christ bore all our suffering. By his stripes and wounds, by every agony, he brought to us salvation.
We needed a big tune to finish. I think we discussed that as one of the ingredients of the last movement. And I was also very keen to put in a fugue, which is a quite a tricky compositional thing to write.
Yes.
Writing fugues are not easy.
No.
But I wanted to...
Or easy to sing.
No, not easy to sing. And so I wanted to write a fugue in, and I wanted to make it a modern sounding fugue. So, because fugues in general are dated back to Bach and Handel,
Yes.
that kind of era. So I put a drum beat on it, a hi-hat going all the way through, and wrote this fugue, which turned out well, but hard to sing. And it's actually unaccompanied when we do it with the piano, but it kind of delays the big moment. And I think if you can build in some delay, it makes the big moment even bigger.
Even bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we set the scene with a kind of a down, not subdued version of the tune, but a more contemplative version. And then that go through the fugue, which builds and builds and builds, and then that leads us to very much the big tune, which incidentally, when I first wrote this, sounded like the B section of Star Wars.
Oh, right.
And it took somebody else to realise and to tell me that you've actually written the second half of the tune of Star Wars.
Oh, right.
And I got on YouTube and I listened to it and I'm thinking, gosh, that is very close. So I had to do some adjustments.
Ah.
So that wasn't the original tune that I wrote, but made it sound like something else, but not Star Wars. But very much in the style of that, as it happened.
Yes.
But yeah, that was.
I like one of the things I like in your music. You can do it easily in your band music, but it's more difficult with vocal music to have a sustained line, but something rhythmical,
Yeah.
even being sung against
Yeah.
that sustained line.
Yeah.
But that always adds interest to the main tune,
It does.
because the tune overarches it.
I used that a number of times.
Yes.
Maybe two or three times in these symphonies.
Yes,
It's a good technique to
Yes.
use, and it does make for excitement.
it does.
And you're right, it lifts the melodic line.
It does. Yes.
And that's especially when you're coming to a conclusion of a piece, you want as much of that as possible, and to take people right to the highest point. That's a way to do that.
And so the staff songsters are going to sing all of these on one occasion.
Yes,
That's going to take some doing.
It's our 40th. It's
stamina.
our 40th anniversary.
Yes.
Next year, 2020 March, and we're bringing back the orchestra. That's a live orchestra, and they're going to sing all 4 symphonies. They're trying to find some. Well, I think we have now found some kind of things to do in between.
Good.
Just to give some rest.
Rest.
But
Rest and recuperation.
Resuscitation. So it's going to be a real big ask for the ISS to sing all 4 of those in one evening against a 35, 40 piece orchestra. But it's going to be fantastic. I hope.
Excellent.
And we're worth it.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Richard.
And mine too, Stephen.